All right, well, let's get started. We got a lot to cover. I
Real quick, I'm going to mute
oh,
everyone
is it?
except for Dan.
Yeah, and
Just
is it recording?
it's recording.
Okay, great. Uh, and you can hear me, Newton?
I can.
Okay, great. So, um, so as you know, my name's Dan Smink, and welcome to our webinar, Unlocking SEO for Manufacturing Growth. In this course, I'm going to show you exactly how to get higher rankings, more traffic, and more new business from Google. Going through this step by step. These are actually the same strategies that we use with our own clients, such as the example you see in front of us. This is a client that is a fence manufacturing company that we took from under 1,000 visits a month to almost 45,000 in about 5 years, and quintupled the size of their business in the process. So if you're brand new to SEO, or if you're overwhelmed by all the content that's out there about SEO, or if you just want a plan that you can use to get more traffic from Google, then hopefully this will be a helpful use of your time today. So without further ado, let's jump right in. First, thanks for coming. Second, I would encourage you to close all of your distractions. So if you're like me, you often have an iPad and an iPhone as well as your computer going at the same time. And I would just encourage you to turn them off. A little bit about me. I'm the founder of RefractROI. I started the company about 14 years ago. I'm a speaker, consultant, educator, in addition to being a CEO of a business. Prior to this is my second agency, but prior to that, I spent about 12 years in medical device manufacturing as a product manager. My team developed one of the first COVID tests that you actually see on the market today. So you actually may have used one of my products. And we have helped over about 500 clients in the 14 years that I've had the business. So first, I want to ground us in the concept of the core issue that's facing any company from a marketing standpoint. And that is that only about 5% of your total market is buying at any one time. So they're looking to purchase in the next 30, 60, 90 days. The other 95% of your market actually has a need for what you do, but isn't going to buy. The first group is what we call active demand. The second group is what we call latent demand. And SEO is important because it enables us to actually address both the demand portion through the conversion part of the funnel, as well as the latent demand part through the middle of the marketing funnel by educating people about the questions and the issues that they have that they're trying to figure out a solution for. So SEO is a really important part from the standpoint of just helping you address your full marketing funnel. If you're here, you probably know that SEO is all about optimizing your website to drive organic, non-paid traffic from Google search. And you may also know that it's an insanely great source of targeted traffic, leads, and customers. Here's a breakdown of where most of your traffic, most of generic traffic comes from. And you can see that about 61% of it comes from search, and then 28% roughly comes from what we call direct, which means people have typed in your name to get to your website. That means that they may have already learned about you from organic search. So organic search has this really broad application across the out there. So what are we going to learn today? First, we're going to talk about identifying the key. We're basically going to look at the building blocks of SEO, which comes down to keywords, content, and building backlinks to your site. So we'll look at how you develop the keywords that you want to target. We'll talk about some concepts of how to create really great content to target those, how to build backlinks to your site, and then how to track and monitor those results. And then what are some steps that you can take to get started. If we have any questions, we can discuss those at the end. But let's get started. So before we dive in to the nuts and bolts of keyword research, link building, and on-page SEO, it's important to have a strong grasp of how SEO actually works. So essentially what you have is you put in a term, and Google has an algorithm that then goes and searches its database to find what pages to actually return for that search term. So think of it as Google's dating a giant card catalog system, and it has to pick which cards to pull out of the system to then place in front of you on a search engine result page. And the question is, what are the key drivers of the pages that it returns and the order that it returns them in, okay? So the first thing that you have to think about is relevancy. For example, if you search for chocolate chip cookie recipes, you don't want to find results for truck tires. So that's why Google would look first and foremost for pages that are closely related to your keyword. So they scan the important terms on those pages, and then that's what they would return, is only pages relevant to the search that you've placed into the search engine. However, it doesn't simply rank the most relevant pages at the top. That's because there's thousands or millions of relevant pages for every term. For example, the keyword cookie recipe would bring up millions and millions of search results. And so to put the results in an order of best to worst, they rely on 3 other elements of their algorithm. So that's weird. So the second issue is authority, and the way that authority is established is through backlinks from other sites. And you're going to want to find backlinks that are not only related to your site, but also have great authority. There's a really good book about Google called In the Plex, and it explains how Sergey Brin and Larry Page developed the algorithm, and they wanted to make it a way to qualitatively compare 2 websites. And the way that they found to qualitatively do that was to either count the number of backlinks or qualify the quality of those backlinks, and then look at the value of the backlinks of one site versus another in terms of what those backlinks are that they have. So the second one is authority. The third is what we call usefulness. And so you could have 2 results. Okay, the first one, you're looking for vegan diet, might be the search term that you put in. And the first result might be written by an expert. It's got quality content. It's got lots of backlinks, but it might be unorganized and it might be full of jargon. So it might not, even though it might be good, it might not be that useful. You could have a second result that might be newer to the vegan diet. It might have fewer backlinks, but the content is better and it's easier to understand. And so these 2 results are going to create a situation where it's going to be, they're both going to compete for the rankings on the search engine result page, because one's got a little more relevancy than the other, one's got more authority than the other, but one's got more usefulness. So even if you're new, if you do a good job of organizing your content and making it useful for the reader, you can compete effectively in SEO. And then if people see that people really like your website, so they actually track, if people come to your site, how much time they spend on it, that will actually be found to give a boost to your website in search engine result rankings. So you want to focus on not just the quality of the content and the backlinks of it, but also how useful is it to the user, because you'll see that will actually help you rise in rankings. So these are the top 3 things that you want to think about when it comes to developing your content and your website for SEO. So why does SEO matter for growth, especially for manufacturing? 2/3 of B2B buyers start their search online. And interestingly, manufacturing is a space that is very uncompetitive when it comes to marketing. And so there's a huge opportunity for people to get a leg up on their competition by using SEO to help market their firm effectively. So that's a grounding in SEO. Let's talk a little bit about finding untapped keywords. So in this section, we're going to learn about how you find the critical first step of succeeding with SEO, which is keyword research. And you may already know keyword research is the process of finding the keywords that customers search for. And as it turns out, keyword is in many ways the first most important keystone of SEO. So there's two types of keywords that you need to be aware of. The first is what we call buying terms or buying keywords. These are the words that you see at the bottom of the funnel that we showed earlier, where the searcher is ready to make a purchase and they're looking to buy in the next 30, 60, 90 days. And you're going to want to target this with pages that you usually find in the top nav of a website. The second set of terms that we want to find is what we call research keywords. And this is what for the person that is in the 95% of the market where they're looking for information about a buying decision that they're going to make. They're not ready to buy, they're just trying to educate. Okay, and here you're going to want to target them with blog articles, resources, supporting pages related to the buying terms that you're trying to drive at the bottom of the funnel. You can also determine the difference between these if you look at the cost per click. If you're using like a third-party tool to look at keyword research, you might see some terms in a certain market that might cost $10, $15 a click, and you might find others that are $1 or $2 a click. They both could have good search volume, but the buying terms are going to cost a lot more money than the research term. So it's a really quick way for you to know or understand what is the buying term versus what's the research term. Also, a couple things that you should know in terms of how to do keyword research or tools to use for SEO. First, there's the Google Keyword Planner. You have to have a Google Ads account for this, but there's the URL to get into it. If you don't have one, you should set one up. Two others are that we use a lot are Ahrefs and SEMrush, and these are really good third-party tools with a tremendous amount of horsepower and capabilities in them that you can use to do keyword research, competitor analysis, content evaluation. It continually grows what they're able to help you with. So I would encourage, if you're serious about getting involved in working on your SEO, is look at getting a monthly subscription to one or both of those as well. So keyword research is the process of finding the keywords that customers are searching for, and it's going to impact every other SEO task you perform. So it's the reason that you do this one. It's the reason that you start with keyword research, because if you do this well, it's going to make everything else easy. And if you don't do it well, it's going to make everything else a lot less successful. So a lot of people will simply jump right into like SEMrush or the Keyword Planner and just throw in a term and start to generate keywords. And that is not the most efficient way to do this, because what you end up with is pretty generic terms that a lot of other people are using. What we want to recommend that you do is you find solid, what we call seed keywords that are highly valued, but not, highly useful in terms of driving search that is going to convert, but are not necessarily ones that everybody is going after. So there's a few techniques that I want to show you about how to generate those keywords. So here's a couple examples of what I would consider to be potential keywords that we would look at for for one of our clients that does battery storage and battery shipping of lithium-ion batteries. And so here are terms that have good search volume. The T and the C, T means that they're transactional, C means they're commercial. So they are buying terms, and they cost about $3 a click. There's some search volume, but they are low keyword difficulty. These are the kinds of terms that we want to find, because you can make these are the kinds of terms you can frankly make a lot of money with. So the way that we develop these is, first we brainstorm words and phrases that are going to be related to our business. Okay, so if it was an example like from the standpoint of what we do, key terms that we use would be things like social media, email marketing, content marketing, blogging, things like that. You then put those into a Google search engine, right? And don't just go with those terms right away, because those are the ones that are the easy sort of low-hanging fruit that everybody's going to go after. But then scroll down on the page and find the people also search for section, right? That section has the term, these are things that actually people are also using. And so you're going to find some terms in here that are going to be really useful to research. You're going to want to find the search volume and the difficulty of these. And then I would actually encourage you to click on those and go down one layer further and find the other, if you took, let's say, battery storage cabinet for home, right? Click on that. There's going to be a set of people also search for terms at the bottom of that one. And I would add those terms to the list that you're putting together. Okay. In addition to using people to also search for, I would also go take a look at Wikipedia. If you dig into Wikipedia and you put in something like coffee, for example, right? This is going to give you a whole bunch of terms. And if you look in the content section of something like that, you're going to start to see other related terms to the topic that you're searching for. Now, manufacturing engineering may have content on Wikipedia. It may not. It just depends. I've done this in a variety of different topic areas, and sometimes Wikipedia is great and sometimes it's not. It just really depends from one market to another. But here you're going to start to again see a bunch of potential seed keywords that are widely used, and there's a lot of research done around them. So then you dig further into that, and as you dig down into it, you're going to see more and more specific terms that you can use for your seed keywords. Then again, like you could use Ahrefs or SEMrush. If you put these terms in, you're going to find their keyword tool will also have related terms to what you're looking for. So, you might put in paleo diet, right? And it's going to return not only the search for paleo diet, but it's also going to return a variety of other related terms that people search for. And so you could have things like, paleo fall desserts, 7 layers of fat, almond butter, chocolate bars, right? A variety of different keywords that you would then go through and look at that and say, which ones are the ones that we're going to want to add to our seed keyword list? Piece of information, if you look at the letters next to the each of the keywords, those indicate the intent that the tool thinks that term has. So when you see a C, that's commercial. When you see an I, that's informational. The C's and the T's are the ones that are used to drive conversion at the bottom of the funnel. The I's are the really good terms to use in the middle of the funnel when you're trying to create content that's going to educate your visitor. So then once you have those seed keywords, then we want to generate some keyword ideas from that. So you start off with a term. Let's just say it's organic coffee is the term that you're using as a keyword term. You would put it into a tool like Ahrefs or SEMrush, and they're going to then give you a bunch of other related terms to that. So you'll see, like, this is an example from SEMrush where you put in organic coffee, and you can see how it says in the bottom left-hand corner, keyword variations, questions, related keywords. And this is where you start to see not only the term itself and how much volume it is and how difficult it is to rank for it, also see related terms that you can add to your list. So you take this and you add these into the list that you're compiling. To find even more, you would click on related keywords, and you're going to end up with an even deeper list of terms. And this is going to bring up variations that you might have not thought about before when you did your initial one. But again, you go back to this, and like in this case, you can also filter on the intent of those related keywords. And so if you're looking for ones that are going to drive conversions, you just select the ones that are commercial or transactional, and that's what it's going to show you. Is these are now the buying terms that are related to the seed keywords that you've generated, and you can pick and choose from these depending on difficulty, search volume, cost per click, if you're going to also include them in a paid search campaign for your digital marketing. So then from this, we want to choose you've now compiled a list of potential seed keywords, and you're going to want to build your campaign in a focused way. Back to that example that I showed you on that first slide where we went from under 1,000 visits to over 40,000, he didn't start with 200 terms. By the time he got to 40,000, he was ranking on the first page for over 1,000 terms. We started out with less than 10 terms initially, and you have to get those to rank, and you get the search engine to trust you for those terms, and then you can start to add others. So in the beginning, just choose a handful of high value keywords to start with. So at this point, you have a bunch of potential keywords. How would you choose the ones that have the most potential? The things that are going to matter are competition, search volume, and revenue potential. Okay, and how do we figure those out? So first, when it comes to keyword competition, we're looking at the keyword difficulty. So like this would have been like if we were starting an SEO campaign for us today, this would be a term that doesn't have a lot of search volume, but the keyword difficulty is low, the cost per click is low. So this would be a term that would be fairly easy to win initially. We don't start off with something like this that has a really high keyword difficulty and a lot of search volume. So your initial seed keywords are going to be ones that are going to be easier to win, may have lower volume, may have it's going to have lower difficulty than something that's higher. So to find, like I was showing you before, you just click on the keyword difficulty, and you can actually sort not only along the intent of that, but also you can look at the keyword difficulty of the terms that you're identifying. And so here, you could choose the easy and the very easy terms to target. And once you've got a few of those are the ones that you initially start with. Second thing to look at would be search volume. Okay, so that highlighted column in the middle there, the 27,000. In SEO services, this would be like in a B2B space, like what we do, this would be a really high volume keyword. If you're in a B2C space, this would actually be a low volume keyword, interestingly enough. So you want to find ones that are going to be ideally a compelling amount of volume for you to go after, while also having a lower level of competition. So again, the way that you can find that is by ranking the terms that you've identified as potential terms to go after by their keyword volume in the tool that you're using to identify which ones you want to go after. The more traffic you can get ranked for, or the more searches, the search volume that there is that you can rank for, obviously is going to relate to the more traffic for your business, and potentially greater revenue potential. So so that is the last part about this is the revenue potential. And like I had talked about before, the way to understand which are the buying terms and the ones that are going to drive more revenue potentially to you is to look at the cost per click. And so ones that be more expensive are going to be more likely to be buying terms. So in this case, T-Mobile near me is at $4 a click versus T-Mobile login, which is 33 cents. So it's 10 times more expensive. And there's a reason, because people are not looking to log in or not looking to buy something, but people are looking for a T-Mobile near me. They're actually looking to go buy something. So it would make sense to spend money on the one where it's going to drive more purchases. All right. The last thing we want to talk about is product keyword fit. So the question is, does this have anything to do with what you sell? And so you need to look at the term and say, it might be related to me, but is this something that's actually going to drive conversions? Because not all of the terms that you're going to be looking at are going to necessarily be a good fit for you. And that's just something that you have to make an analysis with your business. So if you were looking at a keyword like organic dog treats, it might be a great fit for you, but it might be too competitive. So you might look at other ones that are still a good fit for you, but are less competitive for the same related terms. And then when you get them to your site, you'll actually you're going to use a piece of content to do that. So ideally, you're going to get them to come to your site, head to your product category pages, ideally sign up for your email list, or eventually follow you on social media, hopefully. Now, one thing I would say is that in any SEO campaign, your keywords are not set in stone. Have some that are going to work successfully and some that are not. And so we're going to talk later about tracking and metrics, but the keywords that you're going after, when you watch them and see, you might be successful for ranking and some might not. Some might be successful driving conversions and some might not. And so you obviously have a list that you've created, and you're going to want to, if things are not working, obviously you can make changes to them. So now we have a list of target keywords that we want to build around. Now the question is, how do we create content for them? So the secret to SEO is having a website that people love, and it's one that, they come to it and they get great information out of it. It's easy to engage with it, and it's something that they are willing to come back to again and again and again. So the way to do that is to make it useful to them. And if you focus on the quality of the content that you have, that's going to, one, make the site more appealing to the search engine to return it for when it's ranking, as well as for when people come to it and engage with it, they're going to get the information that they're looking for. So once you have those keywords, building content that really helps people engage is the next critical step in the SEO process. So how do we do that? The question, though, the way you do that is you answer the questions about the topics that are important to them. So we do that by taking those keywords that we know they search for a lot, and then we turn those into pieces of content that that they can use to educate themselves a purchasing decision. I'm going to walk you through there's several types of templates that you can create. I'm going to walk you through 3 of them today, just to give you an idea of how to create easy content for your website. In the past, when I first started, it was something where I would start to write articles about topics, and it was a lot of work to write the article. But once I realized that there are some formats that you can use that are easy to generate useful topics, it made content development much easier. So 3 examples we're going to look at today are the how-to blog post, the beginner's guide, and then we call tools of the trade. So in a how-to article, it's got to explain to the audience some way what the reader is hoping to solve. So here's 3 examples of manufacturing how-to blog posts that we've used in the past. And you come to these questions from what are the keywords, and then brainstorming how would you create a question that you need to answer about a given keyword. So, if negative pressure in a hospital room is a keyword that you're trying to rank for, a term might be how to create, or a blog post might be how to create negative pressure in a hospital room. All right. So this one would, this is an example of an article that instead of just writing, what is negative pressure, we explain how to actually do that and what are some of the resources that you're going to need for that for the product. So, and then within it, you're going to have different elements that are going to answer the questions for the customer about how to create negative pressure in a hotel room in your blog post. So this is something that's really helpful for educating people, and it makes you a thought leader to them in terms of how to answer their questions. The other thing that's great about this type of article is it's also great for getting backlinks, because if people come to this and they see this, they're going to actually want to identify it potentially in articles or blog posts or podcasts that they are doing themselves. Second type is what we call a beginner's guide. So here, you've probably seen this, but a lot of people, as they learn about something that they're looking to buy, is they need a guide for what it is that they're doing. Here, if you're trying to choose a metal stamping partner, this would be a guide on how to do that. Daniel, this would be something where I would think you could probably write a guide very easily for your customers about what you do and how they can actually utilize you in their market. And then the tools of the trade is a kind of content that basically explains what are the tools in the industry that you're in, and how to make a choice between one versus another. So, here's an example of two different types of filters. What's the difference and why does it matter on how to use those? And then you can download a guide that they have about, their own pricing. But this is a way to actually help explain to people what it is that they're going to need for making their buying decision. So once you have the content, then we have to optimize it, or what's known as on-page SEO. And so this is how you let the search engine know what your page is about. These content types are designed to already be well optimized, because you're going to be writing about a specific keyword, and then you're going to be using it a lot in the content itself. Google, however, expresses that the title tag is really key to telling the search engine what the page is about, because when they index the page, they're going to be looking for the title of that. If you ever wonder what a title tag is, just if you're on a web page, mouse over the tab at the top in the browser, and when you put your cursor over that tab, a dialog box will open, and you'll see that's actually the title tag that's in the source code for the page. And you want to put the keyword at the front of that title tag. So sorry, we've actually already talked about this. So this is just basically speaking to how the keyword that you're actually looking at is already going to be, if you've got it written in the format that we've talked about before, it's going to be present throughout the page. So you want to make sure that you're using the title tag and in the content, but also in the headings, so that the search engine knows what it's about. The other way to help the search engine and the user is to link the content that you write to other pages on the website that are related to what you're talking about. So don't just randomly create links to other pages, but create links to pages that have something to do with what it is that you're talking about on that page. And then our recommendation would be to make sure that you use those target keywords in the phrases for the link text. And the reason is the search engine actually looks at and sees what links are on those pages and what's the text that's in them. And if it sees the title tag, or the target keyword being used repeatedly through those links, it's going to understand better what the page is about. And then the other piece is to make sure that the user experience is useful for the client. So a lot of times you'll see web pages where things load slowly, or they load with different pieces of different types of advertising or things like that, and the site content shifts. I don't know if you ever had a situation where you've tried to click on something to either buy it or read or link to something else, and the page shifts, and you end up clicking on an ad, and it opens up an ad that you didn't want to even look at. These are the kinds of things that Google is trying to get people to not do. And so creating a user experience that is really beneficial to the client or to the reader is something that's going to really help with your SEO. Now, once you're done with those steps in terms of the internal linking, the buyer experience, and the on-page SEO, optimizing it, you've got this content, you've got it optimized. I would also suggest there's a really great tool within SEMrush that you can actually use to optimize your content. So here's an example of a piece that we wrote for one of our clients, or that we're actually in the process of writing for one of our clients that does lithium-ion batteries. It has this content writing assistant that helps you optimize your content for SEO on your website. And so this is still in draft form. So if you look at this, it looks like it's the tool looks at it's readable, it has a good tone of voice, and it's well optimized for SEO. We need to create a little more originality in it, so we're going to have to consider some changes to it. If you scroll down, this is just a screenshot, obviously, but if you scroll down, it will actually have recommendations for you about the changes you want to make to the content. So you can actually edit the piece in the tool and improve its performance from an SEO perspective. This is a great tool to use. You can run your target pages through this today and see, are they optimized well for SEO? That would be a great place to start. Once you get those in the right place, then obviously you can go through and optimize your other pages. But this tool will really help you take your site and see if it's in good shape or not for optimizing it for SEO. So I would strongly encourage using this as a part of anything that you do for content development. All right. So let's move on to building backlinks. So backlinks are really important because 2/3 of the result of what drives the result for a search engine result page is driven by the backlinks to the site. So it's really important to have, you want as many as you can, and you want to have really good quality backlinks. In the early days of the internet, Yahoo, AltaVista, Ask Jeeves, there were a number of different search engines. They all based their search results 100% on the content of a web page. Google came up with the idea that you actually use backlinks to the site. That's what I had said before when I was talking about that book In the Plex that talks about the framework that Page and Brin used when they developed the algorithm. And it's what led to Google having better customer satisfaction with the results that they got. You probably remember the days when we used to scroll down 2 or 3 pages to find our answer, and now we don't go off of page 1. I'm not sure if you're aware of the data, but 95% of people click on page 1, 75% of people click on the top 5 results, and 50% of people click on the top 3. And that's it. Went about the process of developing its algorithm in a way that really was beneficial to searchers, and it was 2/3 of it's driven by the backlinks to a site. So what is a quality link? First, you have to look at the domain authority and the page authority of the page. Tools like SEMrush and Ahrefs give you an authority score, and so you can pop a site in. So you want to get links ideally from ones with really high authority scores. This is an example of a link that was made from Inc.com. Inc. has an authority score of 68. This is out of 100, right? Yeah, Wall Street Journal is like a 67. So, really high. Media has really high authority scores. The second is it relevant to you? So you could have a site about, like we were talking about our client that does the battery containment, links that it gets from things like hazardous material shipping sites. Those are really relevant links to our website, to their website. Okay, those are the kinds of links that we want to get. If you had something from a mommy blog about creating a dog sitting business, it would have, it might be a link to your site. It might be a powerful link, but it has no relevance to what you're doing. And then the last is the link editorially placed? You can place links, on directories, and you can put them in comments to blogs and things like that. Those are not what we call editorially placed. An editorially placed link is a link that's in an article, and they hypertext the link to your website in the article itself. So if you look at this link down here, kitchen cabinets, right? That's what we would call an editorially placed link. Google values that a lot more than it does the non-editorially placed links. So we're looking for links high quality, relevant, and ideally editorially placed to your site. Okay. So then how do we do that? We're going to run short on time, so I'm not going to be able to go through all of these, but these are 5 different ways to actually generate links to your site. So the first one I will look at is what we call the skyscraper technique. And this is a way where you build a piece of content that is extremely valuable. The how-to guide content that we talked about is an example of this. If you create a really long, comprehensive guide, it's going to create a lot of it's going to rank really well in the search engine because of the amount of the content and the quality of the content. But then it's going to, you want to write this post and get it shared out there with your network on social media, and ideally get people to then write about it and build links to it. So, so that would be one. Another would be if you look at the keyword term that you're trying to rank for and you search for it and you find people that are using articles about that topic, you then run an analysis with a tool that we call it's called Check My Links. It's actually a Chrome plugin, and you can run it on a page and identify where there are broken links on the page, and then write a piece of content, or if you already have that content written, share it with the author and say, hey, I've got, you've got this broken link here, that page is gone away. Maybe you can replace it with this article from my website that is a good fit for what you're writing about here. Obviously, this is something that's very helpful. And so you're doing somebody a favor as opposed to really giving them an ask about this. And so you tend to have a really high response rate on something like this, but it's a great way to leverage the content you've already written into pages that are existing already. How you get those editorially placed links that I was talking about before. And then third one I want to talk about, and this takes time, but it's something that's really important. We think it's really important because we want clients to be thought leaders in their markets. And we encourage them to create studies that are about their industry, and then publish that data and share it with people so that they will link back to them. And so this not only creates data that that's useful to the industry and positions you as a thought leader, but it also becomes a source of really good links for your website. All right, I'm gonna send the presentation to you. The next two are I'll just briefly gloss over them. An unlinked brand mention is when you go out and you find where your name is mentioned in an article, but there's no link to it. When you find something like this, you can send an article to them and just ask them to create a link to your website from that, from where they identify your name. It's really good in like newspaper articles, if you appear in a newspaper somewhere or an online publication, to do this. The second is, the other one is competitor analysis. So if you do an analysis of all of your competitors on like Ahrefs or SEMrush, you'll see the ones that are good. They'll have a whole bunch of links that you can probably leverage if you aren't using them already. They could be on publications, they could be in directories, they could be in blogs, but it gives you targets of places to go and try and solicit links from those places, or try and place your content on those websites to try and generate links from them. So last section is how to monitor and measure your results. So obviously you can do a whole bunch of work, but if you don't look at it and see how it's performing, you're not really going to make much progress. So the question is, how do we do that? Obviously, it's a lot of work. You're creating a ton of contents, you're building links, you're optimizing your website, but does it work or not? Doing the monitoring and measuring of it is what's going to help you know if you need to change your approach. If you look at your traffic and you see something like this, it's obviously not going anywhere in particular. It's kind of bouncing up and down. This is something that you're going to obviously want to change. You could make and the interesting part is you could make a change in your rankings, but going from number 8 to number 6 isn't necessarily going to make a big difference in your traffic. So you're moving forward, but you're not necessarily seeing results yet. So it's good to monitor traffic. It's also good to monitor your rankings, because over time, as you rank more terms and you rank higher for those terms, you will eventually increase your overall organic traffic for your site. So, so tracking this stuff, seeing how things are moving is really important. I would not expect to see overnight changes in what you're doing. SEO is a longer term exercise, and so it takes time to get things aligned and also to see the returns in the search engine results. So I wouldn't be discouraged if you're not seeing results in a month or two. You should be seeing, you should start to see changes in rankings, changes in search volume in 3-4 months. But sometimes it can take 6 to 12 months to really see, material changes in your performance. So first thing to look at is whether your rankings are moving up. If they're moving up, it means you're going in the right direction and you're trending well with the search engine. Like I said, if going from 8 to 6 doesn't make a huge difference in traffic, going from 8 to 2 will, but you have to see the move from 8 to 6 first. Past this. So the first thing is the keyword rankings. This will start to show eventually increases in your traffic. The other thing to start to look at is total clicks and total impressions. So you need to get more impressions before you get clicks. Impressions are when people actually, clicks are when people actually click on your site. Impressions are when people, when your site actually appears in search engine results. So you're going to see movement with impressions before you're going to see changes in clicks. The other thing to watch is the value of the traffic that you are searching for, or that you're ranking for. So SEMrush has a really great tool that actually will show the value of your search. And if you were to change, you were to increase, you rank for 2 terms. Let's say one is worth $1 a click and the other is worth $10 a click. When you rise in rankings for the more valuable term, so let's say you go up, you get 10 more visits for the term that's worth $10 a click, that would increase the value of your traffic by $100. Where if you increased for the one that's only worth $1 10 times, that's only going to increase your value $10. Increasing the value of your traffic cost is going to actually increase the benefit of SEO to your business, because those are the terms that are driving buying behavior at the bottom of the funnel. So focusing on those high value terms and increasing the total cost of your traffic is something that is a really great tool to measure over time. That's what I just explained here, actually. So it's not about how many people that see you that you really want to focus on. It's how many people click and convert. So keeping track of your not only those clicks and impressions, but your rankings and your search volume for the terms that are really valuable are what are going to really drive performance in SEO. So determining what those goals are that you're going to have for the business are the things that you want to use to drive your metrics. So you're looking for increased leads, you're looking for increased sales, or you're looking for increased email subscribers that you can convert down the road. Those are the things that are going to be your ultimate goals. And so, I wouldn't get lost in the up and down of traffic and conversions necessarily. It's when those are, you want to make sure that you're tracking that information so that it leads to these increased goals that you're trying to pursue that are going to really help your SEO pay off for you. So that's SEO at a high level. What questions do you have? We have a few minutes left to answer some questions for you today.
Oh,
Sorry,
okay.
do we need? I think.
I know. You could turn them off now ourselves. All right. Hey, Dan, great presentation. Super, a lot of information. Wow. So, if you could, yeah, anything you could send out to review. Is this recording going to be available?
Yeah, I will share the recording with you. I will share this with you. I will also send out a couple of tools, one for keyword research and then a workbook to use with the presentation so that you can actually track those keywords, audit your, it has an audit for how to audit your site and some other things to use with it. So you'll get those as well.
That's awesome. Thank you. So the question is, and I know there's no silver bullet answer, but SEO takes time, and you said that repeatedly throughout the presentation, and then again as a capstone at the end. So company A that does nothing, company B that does something, how long organically does it, if everybody followed exactly what you're suggesting, and you've got 14 years of great experience, how long does somebody see a material improvement in their web efforts, employing a strategy like you're suggesting?
So it depends on where you start from. And the reason I say that is you could have, we have a prospect that we're working with right now that just has had a lot of media about them. It's a financial services company that they've created some innovative products and they've gotten some media. And so just because of that media coverage, their domain authority and the terms that they index for are relevant, and they index in the top like 2, 3 on like pages 2, 3, and 4. Okay, so they're not on the first page. They're not getting a lot of clicks, but their domain has a lot of authority, and those terms are indexing highly on search engine results already. Okay. Second client that we are working with right now that we just started is they make a healthcare protocol, and they haven't gotten any media coverage. They haven't done, neither team has done any SEO. But the first group hasn't produced a lot of content on their site, and they haven't gotten a lot of mentions in media of any sort. So they don't even index for terms that they want to rank for, or terms that they do index for, they rank on pages like 6 through 10.
Yeah,
okay,
which is relevant, right? Yeah,
it's way down. So the time that it's going to take for the first group to get a material impact, meaning terms on page 1, driving search volume that they want to convert, okay, is probably going to take somewhere in the neighborhood of 3 to 6 months to start to see, a pulse, meaning, traffic and conversions. They'll see good results in the first year. The other group, it could take 9 months to 12 months for them to start to get terms on page 1 because they don't even index. We have to create the content, get the search engine to index it, right? And then get it to like it. Whereas the first case, they already index it and the search engine already likes it, and the site has authority. So you were asking between A and B. It depends on, where are they today? Are they indexing for terms? Are they the right terms?
yeah.
Does the search engine value their website? And then the other piece that I would put into this is competition. So the group that already indexes well, there's not a lot of competition in their space. It's going to be easy for them to move up. Whereas the group that doesn't index well, the other piece that they have in front of them is they're in a highly competitive B2C space that is going to be competitive for them to get rankings for. So, that is also working against them.
So a lot of variables, I guess. So 6 months to a year, is that fair?
I think that's totally reasonable. Yeah. That would be a my usual comment to people is that's the sort of frame to start thinking in. Could you go faster? Yeah, it depends on the situation.
Yeah. So I obviously Daniel might have a question, so I don't want to make another comment, but I will at the end.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess my question is, a company like ours where we're extremely specialized and kind of unique and we don't work in vertical markets, how do you, we have a very wide range of industries that we have to go after in a very narrow kind of weird market. How do you attack that? We found it to be quite difficult for us to figure out how to get found.
Right. So, I think that is your solution consistent across all of the verticals?
No,
No,
it's not.
Okay. Yeah. So in a case like that, what I advise, particularly smaller companies, is you have to focus on something to start with. And I would pick, of the verticals that are most appealing to you, what is the one or two verticals that of the verticals that you pursue, what are the one or two that are most appealing to you? The example that I would give you is like that first example where we went from under 1,000 visits a month to over 40,000 visits a month. That guy, when he started, didn't have any traffic, basically. By the end, he was outranking Lowe's, Amazon, and Home Depot. And the reason was he only focused on aluminum fencing terms, right? And by focusing all of his investment in a very specific space, he was able to get a lot of traction. I liken it to like when you play Monopoly, right? And you have your $1,500 that you start the game with. If you buy, one orange property and one purple property and one red property and one green property, right? You can't build any houses on it. You can't extract any rent from the other players in the game. But if you only buy one color group and then you invest in that and you build houses on it, and you build hotels, that's when you get rent out of people. The same thing relates to keywords. If you spread all your investment around, you're not gonna do well. But if you focus very specifically on a certain group, that's why we said start with 5 keywords, right? Focus very specifically on those in a specific industry that's really appealing to you from a business standpoint. You will drive rankings, and given what you're describing, it sounds like you would be a thought leader in your space, and you would be very differentiated in that space. But it's picking the niche that's valuable to you, and then picking keywords carefully that you want to invest in.
Yeah. So, all right. Yeah, it's gonna take some thought. Yeah.
So, Scott, you said you had another question?
I'm just going to offer a testimonial.
I got a few.
So real quick, just testimonial, right? So through our sustainability business 2 weeks ago, we had a inquiry on our info@sustainabilitycoreadvisors.com. And we don't get a ton of those, inquiries usually come in other ways, usually referrals or whatnot. Anyway, very legitimate, very large fleet management company out of the Midwest. And in speaking to them, and we're still pitching them, we have pitched them, and we said, how'd you find us? And they said, we typed in, and we put a lot of work into SEO. They typed in mid-market sustainability consultant. And we were the first to pop up, unpaid, but we were the very first to pop up. They didn't want to, and this is a $500 million company, so they could afford to probably go with somebody that was paying, but they didn't want that. They wanted somebody, in the on the streets, if you will. They want somebody paying their way, and we were the first that popped up. And so there you go. It was just a great testimonial to the power of SEO, and we happened to have a keyword.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like you picked a good keyword to write about, because that's a very, it's not a niche, what I would call a niche term, but it's a very specific buyer is going to be looking for that. That's definitely a buying term. And it's actually qualifying your buyer, because you're putting them into the mid-market, right?
Sure.
And so that's a really great term to drive rankings for you, I would think.
Yeah.
So nice work.
Yeah. Well, thanks. It was just a kind of a cool testimonial to round out what you were saying. So I will follow up with you. I'm getting close to what we've talked about.
Yeah.
But thank you.
So Daniel, if you wanted to, I mean, my sense is your business is probably smaller than we usually work with. Our clients tend to be in like the 10 to $50 million range. But if you have questions, I'm happy to have conversations about, what are you going to do and how are you going to get there? And I also have resources that I can turn you to if we're not a fit for you. So I just wanted to say, like, just, feel free to reach out, and I'm happy to have a conversation, and help you think through what you're trying to figure out.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay.
Thank you, Dan and team.